Welcome back to the Four Pillar Podcast, baby. We stand for faith, family, fitness, and finance in that order. And we hope you're having a great day today. Once upon a time, your son or daughter is sitting in a cafeteria and big old Jimmy comes over and smacks him upside the head and takes his cookie during lunch.
That's not funny. It's just the way you're saying it. I'm sorry.
What's your son or daughter going to do about it? What is that?
I don't know.
It's bullying, right?
Well, yeah, that's bullying. Yeah.
Okay, so today we're gonna talk about bullying and maybe a little bit how to deal with it. And we do have a self-defense or a anti-bullying seminar coming up at the gym. I wanted to talk about this because we're actually doing a workshop for kids, and it's going to be every Monday in October. And from 5 to 12-year-olds, it'll be from 5 to 5:45 on Monday, and then for no, I just messed that up. 5 to 7-year-olds from 5 to 5:45 p.m., not a.m. And
Oh my.
and then for 8 to 12, 8 to 13 from 5:45 to 6:30 every Monday in October. So just during our normal class times on Mondays, and just wear school clothes stacks. We're going to talk about bullying. So I thought that'd be a perfect segue for us to come in today and talk about bullying. So I think it's still a huge issue, a really big issue with a lot of parents, and even in the workplace. I mean, there's workplaces that hire basically anti-bullying people to come in and talk to adults in the workplace, because it can be really bad in the workplace. So we're going to talk about maybe how to deal with some of that stuff, some statistics, and just talking about bullying in general. Obviously, it's a very bad thing. It's not a good thing. You should not be a bully, and if you are, you should stop.
End of podcast.
When you hear the word bullying, what's your first thoughts on bullying?
When I hear it, I think of the movie where it's the big kid stealing lunch money from the little kid.
Right.
And I think that is the case nowadays too, but also I think mostly it's verbal and online harassment, but there is still that physical bullying aspect.
I think there's a lot of physical bullying, right? Because the thing is, right, your 5-year-old's not going to be on Facebook or Instagram.
Oh, right.
Right, and
yeah.
Same thing with that. Like, I think it's still core. Like, I know we have a whole different the dynamic of bullying now. Right, there's different types of bullying, as in like the cyberbullying, the being physically bullied, verbally bullying. Which really, cyberbullying is just a version of verbal.
Oh yeah.
Verbal bullying.
Yeah.
But I still think the core issue with bullying is like people are so like bent out of shape on cyberbullying. Yes, it's not good. It's bad. But however, like where does bullying start? It starts when the kids are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and like,
yeah.
I mean, maybe some do now, but I bet most children don't have Instagram when they're 8 years old, right? And so it's like you start talking about like where's the drug problem? Everybody wants, which I'm just using this as a segue here, a caveat, but like, people want to try to fix people that are addicted and they're like 40 years old. There's a need for that. But where does addiction and abuse of drugs actually really start? It starts with the kids.
Oh, yeah.
Because the kids are getting raised up by these parents and people. So like if you really want to fix a generational issue, you have to start with the kids. I'm not saying those people are lost causes, but you have to start with the kids.
I mean, there's always nature versus nurture, but you could even go as far as to say it all starts at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
With bullying.
Victims of bullying and bullying, because I think if you're perpetually a victim and you don't, as a parent, you don't try to have your kid raise them in confidence and assertiveness, then you're also making them a victim of it too, perpetually a victim of it too, which obviously it's not their fault. They're getting bullied, but to be able to take those steps for them to be more assertive and be more confident as well.
Yeah. And these stats may have changed at this point or whatever. There's obviously different places you get them, but it was something crazy, like 90% of bullies, or like 95% of bullies, or like kids or people who become bullied, were bullied.
Oh yeah.
It's like literally like 90%.
Oh yeah.
And then when I say bullied, that can be from a parent as well too. It doesn't even have to be from a kid, because you can, I mean, not to be blunt here, but you can be a bad parent and create a bully because you're bullying your child. And there's a good chance that the reason you're bullying your child or other people is because you were bullied by somebody or your parents, or the dynamic there wasn't right. And I know it's not healthy, but that's how you have to start correcting it, is not doing it to other people and handling it the right way.
Yeah. I mean, you see it at the park all the time. Our kids are young, but what kid is the one running up the slide and kicking other kids, and not running up the slide, like when other kids are trying to come down and just not listening, being hooligans? Where's the parent? They're like not there, or they're checked out on their phone.
Right.
And I think that's just, they're seeking attention and all of that stuff from their parents, so they're just acting out, and that's only going to get worse as time progresses.
Yeah, I guess that's almost a little different discussion. We could even say just about parenting, because
Right.
I mean, yes, that can cause bullying, but that's just bad behavior. It's not really bullying.
I think it could turn into bullying.
It could, yes.
Because when you're talking about 5-year-olds, I think it's hard to say this 5-year-old's a bully, because it's often just seeking attention. When you get to teenagers, I think that's when, or even like 10 years old and up, I think that's when the bullying really starts to begin. And obviously, younger kids can experience hurt and bullying symptoms, but it's all, I think that is all from the home, and that's hard to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's usually, and where bullying basically comes from is, and this is where the hard part is most kids that are getting bullied, it's usually by, like when I was bullied, right, it was by a kid that was 2 grades older than me, and obviously like bigger. So there's usually a dominance thing there. Is usually the bullies are always usually somehow like more physically bigger than the person they're bullying. There's a lot of items that stack up with that as well too, is why they're bullying other people that are smaller than them.
Absolutely.
And go ahead.
So the people who are probably listening to this podcast are probably not going to be the parents of the bully. So what can the parents of the kid maybe being bullied, what can they do to help their child?
And I think that's our main focus, right? Because obviously if maybe I guess a parent or someone that's just maybe realize you're being mean or nasty to other people, is you could maybe make that adjustment. But yeah, so most generally the issue resides with how do you deal with the bully, because just like you said, we're probably not talking to the people that are just being like mean and nasty to people. Right. And so that's what we really want to get into now, is how can you deal with a bully? And I think you could potentially use the same principles from as a child all the way up to adult, as some of the basics anyway. When you think about it, the kind of the main couple things that we do is obviously we use something called the 3 T's, and it stands for talk, tell, and tackle. So I'm thinking about a different word to put in for tackle, because just because you do the first one doesn't mean you just always need to tackle somebody. That basically means you're physically engaging with somebody. Yeah. But those are kind of the 3 T's that we use to talk about bullying for kids, is talk, tell, tackle. And obviously, as you see, each one escalates as you go through the 3 T's. I think as well, too, I know obviously we own a martial arts studio, but before you even get into that, some things I think you can do to help yourself deal with bullies, or really just life in general, is you need some sort of physical outlet. And because usually if you do something physical, as in your training, so if you're training jiu-jitsu, you're boxing, even if you're just lifting weights, and that doesn't really teach you how to defend yourself, but it helps you physically develop, and all those things help increase your ability and somehow your mindset. and your skills as well too. And ultimately that increases your confidence, which is the most important thing, is because you need to have confidence and courage to be able to stand up for what you believe in and stand up for yourself and deal with things head on. It never makes things better not dealing with things head on, even if you seem you're at a very disadvantaged position with that.
I think along with that too, adolescents, adults, I don't know about adolescents, but like when you're getting into the science of it, when you're lifting weights, when you have some kind of physical outlet, especially like lifting, you are building testosterone, which will naturally make you more confident and more assertive. And those are all great things to lead into the conversation you're about to have.
Yeah. Well, just even lifting weights in general it gives you more physical preparedness to deal with a bully or be able to protect yourself just in general. Because if you're stronger, faster, all those things that come from exercising, it's going to give you more confidence and more actual ability to do something about it as well too, which brings on courage. And I think the mental aspect as well too, right? If you lift weights, even if you lift weights and you're just doing something, not easy, but you're doing bicep curls, right? If you do enough curls or an exercise, like it starts to burn, it starts to hurt, and usually you're increasing the weight or the reps, and it starts increasing your mental resilience to pain as well too.
Yeah.
As well, I think training martial arts really does that, but even training or working out will still do that to some extent. And I think that's important when you talk about mental resilience to dealing with hard things.
Absolutely.
And what I was going to bring up as well too, with you think about you have to stand up for what you believe in or what you believe for, even if odds are against you. And like one of the stories that stands out to me is I like history, obviously. So if you think about the whole World War II, it really wasn't that super long ago. In the West, over there, the big threat was obviously Adolf Hitler and the Germans, and he basically was conquering the whole entire world, essentially the European world, and it basically came down to Winston Churchill, right, and the British, and they were really getting beat as well too. And now obviously Hitler made some strategical errors to really win the war, but anyway, he stood up for this person is evil and he's trying to do something completely wrong, and they were completely outnumbered and getting socked in the face, and really everybody else in the cabinet except for Winston Churchill wanted to negotiate with Hitler to come to a resolution. And he was the one that gave the famous speech, we'll fight till the end, we'll fight on the air, we'll fight in the sea, we'll fight, and he said we're never going to let evil, we're not going to negotiate with evil, essentially, and we're going to stand up for what's right. And when everybody else wanted to kind of be let's just work out a deal, right? He didn't accept that. And he accepted they had to beat evil. Yeah. And so I think you have to think about that when you get into, you have to be able to stand up for what you believe for, and you're having courage to fight for yourself as well.
I think along with that too, not to lead us down any kind of rabbit trail, but I think as parents, we need to be able to have conversations with people with other viewpoints and not automatically go to anger, because our kids are watching that. And if we automatically go to anger every time we hear a different viewpoint, that's what they're going to emulate too. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be able to communicate correctly. So let's go. Yes. So that actually brings us into the first T, talk.
Yeah.
Right. So when we talk about the 3 T strategies for dealing with bullies, the first one is talk. And that's a very good point, because you can disagree with somebody or have a different viewpoint, but you're still able to talk to that person and communicate correctly. And I think that's very important. And you have to really try to work on, I think it's a skill developed. You have to practice your tone of voice, and 2, your body language. Now, I think this is difficult because all the time, I know if you're listening to this, you've had this happen. You're talking to somebody and you say something that is completely right or not offensive or, should be taken the exact, there's nothing wrong with it, right? Yeah. Whatever that thing is. And the person just did not like what you had to say. Right?
Yeah.
And the reason for that is you said the correct words. However, 87% of communication is done through body language and tone of voice. And that's something we forget about. We can say the right things at the right time, and it may not even matter because we didn't say it with the right tone or the right body language. And that's really important in a communication. And that's hard because obviously when you're emotionally charged about something, maybe you're mad about it, right? You can disagree or even agree with the person or try to caveat, pivot, and talk about something. But like, if you're gritting your teeth and you just look like you want to kill this person, and you're trying to actually say something that's completely appropriate or neutral, they're not going to probably take it the right way because of your voice tone could be aggressive. You could look like you're just like ready to punch someone in the face. And that's hard because you have to practice that. Like some people say they have the resting not nice face.
Yeah. RBF.
Yeah, RBF.
Yeah.
Well, if you know you have that and you have to talk to somebody, just try to smile.
Yeah.
And that's the easiest way. And without doing it like super creepily, the best way to try to talk to somebody is keep a gentle somewhat of a smile or a joyful look on your face, even when you're saying something negative. Maybe not negative, but true to somebody.
I think even before that is just working on eye contact.
Yeah, eye contact as
I
well.
think that's probably one of the most important things, even more so than a smile, is just eye contact, because a lot of people can't do that now.
Yeah. So with that as well, too, now I know that's a lot of details for you to think about and work on. Now for kids, obviously, when we talk about talk, it's just being able to talk with a kid. So we're not completely 100% worried about all the fine details of body language, voice tones. It's just being able to get the because most children, especially the younger, they're a little bit more innocent in how they act and talk and look with people. And so it's not something they have to really think about as much, but they do need to think about actually using their words to communicate with the other person or individual. And I think that's very important. So if, for an example, and I know this is super cliche or should be abundantly obvious, but if they're getting bullied or hurt or someone's taking a toy, just a simple thing of getting them the confidence and courage to say, I don't like to play that way, or hey, I was playing with that, I want to finish playing with it, you can have it here like after I'm done, we can share, or we can play with it together. There's a bunch of different things you can do, and that can diffuse things immediately versus if a child never says anything to the other individual or other child, it can build up a lot of tension there. And the best way to do it is like we should do as adults, talk to the other person about it or tell them, I do not like this. And obviously that's especially is the first line of defense. If someone is just being a bully to your child, it's not even like they're just taking their toy. They're being a bully or being mean or rude. Is confronting them and saying, I don't like this, or this isn't right, and I don't want you to do this anymore. Or
stop being mean to me.
Yeah, or stop doing X, Y, Z to me. Or if you want to play, we're not going to play like this because this isn't nice. Right. Or kind, or whatever word you want to put. Like you have to get your kids to, and as people, to talk to them and use the first T. That's super important because that can diffuse and stop things right there. So, for an example, they have Walmart greeters. Okay, at Walmart, and you may know the answer because I've talked about this before. What's the number one job as a Walmart greeter?
Oh, isn't it? It ultimately is to stop theft.
Yeah, so that's the correct answer, right? Everyone says, well, it's have a nice customer experience, right? Yeah. No. Walmart, right? They're smart. They're a big industry, right? They studied this stuff. The number one job of a Walmart greeter is to stop theft. And I bet no one's ever probably thought of that before.
I didn't before you told me.
Because the number one thing that stops theft is identifying somebody and making contact with them. So you think about a Walmart greeter, every single person that walks into Walmart, right, they're looking at them and they're greeting them. They're saying, hi, welcome to Walmart. I hope you have a nice time shopping, or let me know if you need help with something, or I hope you have a good day today. And you just got identified, right? Someone physically looked at you and said hello to you and identified you. and it's something insane, like 70 some percent. They found out, like, by having a Walmart greeter, it stops theft by 70% because they're identifying somebody when they walk in the door. Because thieves and bad people, they don't want to be identified.
Yeah.
And by
They don't
doing
want eye contact.
yeah, they don't want eye contact. They don't want to be identified. They don't want to be sought out. They want to be sneaky. So when they're identified as something, it's like, wow, like someone's watching me. They say, like, they're paying attention, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of psychological studies and stuff that go with that. You can go way deeper with that, but you're doing the same thing when you're talking to a bully or somebody else.
Oh yeah.
With that, so that's why the first T is so important, and that can help diffuse and stop a lot of things. Now, sorry, do you have anything else to add to that?
One last thing, and this is going to sound silly, but there's a Bluey episode that really helped our daughter with that. And it's when Bingo and her dad are playing, the dad is playing too rough with her, and she doesn't know how to tell him. And by the end of the episode, the mom teaches her to use, I think, like big girl bark or something.
Big girl bark, yeah.
And Eden has actually, that's a tool that she has learned, not just from us, but because we are very selective on what she watches.
Yeah.
She's like, we've actually said, like, hey, use your big girl bark, because like she'll be in a bounce house and be the smallest girl and everybody's just kind of trampling over her, cutting her in line, and we're like, no, don't let them do it. Like, use your big girl bark, and she will, and it's awesome. But that's just another little tool for maybe people with younger kids.
Absolutely, yeah. Is to have them use their voice. The second T is tell. So obviously the first line of defense is talk, and you're trying to talk to the person using your words and trying to fix it that way. Now the second way, when you're talking about specifically bullying, is to tell somebody. And now, especially with kids, and this works with adults as well too, because usually if you're using the workplace as an example, you can go tell a superior, hey, this person is being rude. They're trying to have me do this work and stuff that I've tried to communicate and help them on. They're like passing it off onto me and saying, blaming me for it, not getting it done when I'm trying to do that. Like there's a lot of things you can do there where you can go tell a superior, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you can go tell your parents or a teacher or a significant other, or somebody that has a little more control of potentially the situation. It could, at an extreme, it could be the police officer.
Yeah.
I mean, any kind of superior. And this is really important too, because this is like line 2 of defense. And this is where as well, where I feel like a lot of school systems don't do well because they don't manage the step. Well, one, I don't think kids communicate well with one another and try to stop it from the rip with using communication. But then I think some schools, I've heard it from everybody, like parents say like, oh, my son's getting bullied or my child's getting bullied, and they try to talk with the kid, or they tell them not to do that, and eventually go tell the principal or a teacher or something, and it's like they really don't do anything.
Right.
And I think that's incorrect. I think something should be done, even if it's just a simple. The kid doesn't need, because it could be a lot of hearsay as well too, or is that person or kid being mean back to them? It could just be a simple conversation, like sit down with the kids, or even without the parents, or if it escalates, bring the parents in and have both parents and the kids have like you have to deal with it. You have to confront it and deal with it, and that's what fixes the issue. And I think a lot of people don't do this right because school systems are letting our kids down by not taking initiative just to have a simple conversation collectively as a family or as kids to fix the issues.
And I think as parents too, we can't, obviously that's our kid, we want to protect them, but when our kid is coming to us with these, they're telling us or they're telling a teacher, we have to be not so emotional about telling them how to fix it, because if we are so emotional, we're not going to be rational. And so I think in the school's case too, it's like, oh well, kids will be kids. No, things need to be addressed, but they need to be addressed correctly.
Correct.
And I think a lot of parents, which I would be the same way, they get like really emotional. I've heard Eden is 5, and I've heard from other parents like their 5-year-old is getting bullied from another 5-year-old. And that's hard for me to be like, okay, well, why is this 5-year-old being a bully? And I think, like, just not go at it so emotionally.
Yeah, because yes, kids will still be kids, and I think that's part of it, especially boys. Boys are going to be rough with one another.
Right.
And I think that's things we have to take in consideration. Like I'm not trying to get like crazy here, because if we've done podcast episodes and I've said something like I can't post a podcast episode because I got too aggressive on it. But like, people need to stop being so soft especially when it comes to boys.
Yeah.
Because boys are going to be rough with one another.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to happen, and it just needs to happen sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think, just dealing with it in the appropriate way, especially with like you're talking 5, 6, 7-year-olds. They don't really know what bullying is. They're just trying to learn basic skills, and so trying to fix, adjust, and deal with those things appropriately is important. They're probably not really bullying one another at that age. It's just they're developing their social skills.
Yeah. And I guess what more the angle I was coming from is there's a lot of teenagers with moms who get involved in the drama.
Right.
And you can't. You have to like stay not so emotional about it. You can feel for your kid, but you have to keep some of that emotion out of it.
And I think you brought up a very good point. And you should always tell your parents if you're getting bullied. But however, you should also allow your kids to help to deal with the problems right. So that's not going to help them if you fix it for them. Mm-hmm. However, right, an easy way to do this though is maybe, if your kid's telling you like, hey, I've tried to tell this kid blah 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 blah, and it's happened multiple times, and they've told you, well, have you told one of your teachers? Yeah, I told a teacher. It's still
mm-hmm.
happening. That's when you can step in and say, hey, we need to have a conversation with maybe the principal, like
mm-hmm.
to bring that. And that's an initiative you can take
mm-hmm.
to help do that. And I think that is important, but you also still need to try to let your kids resolve that, because those are super important social skills that they're going to need for the rest of their life to learn how to deal with, and they can start at a young age.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of the second T. Now the third T is tackle, right? Mm-hmm. Which means, and I'm a firm believer of this, if you are getting physically bullied, now you can still use the first T's even if some kid comes up and shoves you,
right,
or is being a little more aggressive. It still can be the appropriate way to handle that. But if you get physically bullied at any point, you need to defend yourself, or you need to sock the kid in the face.
Yeah.
And I know, like, jiu-jitsu is like the main thing. Jiu-jitsu is used to leverage and to take people down, hold them down, and defend yourself, and that's perfectly fine. One of the things that I got bullied, like, it was like two main bullies that I had when I was in school. One was like on the bus, older kid. The other one was like a bigger kid actually picking on one of my other friends. I think same grade, maybe one grade up, or if not same grade. And I kind of said something to him, and he kind of like ran at me, and I socked him in the face as hard as I could.
I don't think I know that story.
Yeah. I actually didn't. So this was back before everyone got super soft, so I didn't really even get in trouble for it.
Yeah.
It was kind of like I had to, which was honestly worse than anything else. I wasn't allowed to play football at recess for like 2 weeks.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, that was horrible. So, I mean, honestly, probably appropriate, I guess you could say, quotations, punishment.
Right.
But it wasn't now, because like now you're like, these kids are suspended for the rest of the year. You have to be detention for a week, or you're expelled, suspended for the week or whatever. And it's like, that's so ridiculous. Like what that principal did, probably a great leader, because I mean, I don't remember if the other kid really got in trouble or not or whatever, but it was like, I think he wasn't allowed to play football or something either for like 2 weeks, and I couldn't play football for like 2 weeks at recess or something like that, which was honestly horrible, because that was my favorite thing to do at school.
Yeah.
But however, never had problems with a kid ever again.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean that's a easy way to handle a bully is physically defend yourself.
Yeah. My parents always told me I can't start a fight, but I sure better finish it if
absolutely
this fight starts with me. So, and I always knew that I wouldn't get in trouble if somebody came up and attacked me, and I just finished it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really crucial element to that, because that's some way, like kids especially, like they're going to be mean, or they're going to even maybe be physical, and that's just kind of part of life. I think it's an element we let go of, trying to the physicality of things, especially once again with boys. Yeah. Girls are typically going to be more verbally offensive towards one another. Boys are going to tend to probably be more physically aggressive towards one another. and just learning how to deal with that in the appropriate manners. But I think anytime you are physically bullied, you 100% need to defend yourself, and you should never put your kids or let your kids get in trouble for physically defending themselves with a bully, because now a lot of schools and things, it's like extreme, where it's like, I know East Knox had my senior year, that's like the no bully policy or something, or complete no tolerance bullying policy. And what that means is, like, they define it as a garbage rule. It's so stupid, because
I don't remember it.
Yeah, well, it was like my junior senior year they started doing this.
Okay.
And this isn't how life works. This is why it's, because I believe if you send your kids to a public school, it's because you're teaching them life skills, right, to get them ready to age into adulthood and take on life. And this isn't how life works. The no tolerance bullying was, if there was a fight at all, doesn't matter the circumstances, you both got suspended for the same amount of time. Oh. You could come up, and this happened to me. I literally watched one of my friends, kid was being a jerk to him, came up. I mean, there was some enticing, obviously, I'm sure, from other kids that you heard or whatever, but kid came up and started picked up my friend and was like hitting him in the face, right? They kind of got in a disagreement. They both stood up. This kid just comes up and socks him and was just hitting him, and my friend's like, hey, like, stop or whatever. Like, didn't even do anything. They both got suspended for 5 days.
Oh, my.
And he literally just took about 10 punches in the face and was yelling at him to stop and didn't do anything.
Oh, jeez.
But they both got that is the most garbage rule ever. And I don't know if it still exists at East Knox. If someone goes to East Knox and is listening to this, you need to fix it. Like, if there's a fight and a kid is clearly defending themselves because they're getting bullied, they should not get in trouble whatsoever, because that's how life works.
Right. Yeah.
There is no tolerance in bullying in life.
Right.
If someone attacks you and you're defending yourself, you don't get in trouble, and hopefully you mess the other person up so they never do it again.
Yeah.
And they learn a lesson, and then they get in trouble for attacking you. Mm-hmm. That's how life works.
Yep.
My opinion.
Yes.
So, but that breaks down the system that we use as the 3 T's, right? Talk, tell, tackle. And that's kind of an approach that we're taking we're going to break those down a little bit more in our anti-bullying seminar. But that's kind of the gist of what I like to try to use when I'm helping kids with jiu-jitsu, and really emphasizing the first 2 T's, because it's not always about just fighting people. That's not what it's about. But then there is going to be occasions of things where you got to defend yourself, and you have to know how to defend yourself and use your skills. So that still is very, very important. The most dangerous samurai is one that always keeps his katana sheathed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was
because
wondering where you were going with that.
because he knows that if he draws it, he could truly kill somebody.
Yep.
So
I think the last thing I would say, since it is prevalent right now, is with cyberbullying, which I obviously haven't experienced this as a parent because my oldest kid is 5. But I think if you have a child under your roof, monitor their screen time, monitor their, you can give them privacy, but like, just monitor a lot of what they're doing online.
absolutely.
Too. I think that would be my biggest recommendation. Like, I mean, even as much as having a basket at the dinner table and everybody puts their phone in the basket, including the parents. So they get a few hours where they're not on a screen, because they're taking the school drama home with them every night because it's on their phone. So go take a walk as a family, eat dinner as a family together with no screens. And I think you'll see a significant change, because there's so many kids who are just on their phone 24/7. They sleep with their phone under their pillow. Like, just try to break that cycle. That would be my biggest recommendation.
Yeah, we'll do a whole other episode on cyberbullying, 'cause I think that gets into a whole different kind of thing. But that's a very good first start with it. And I think handling normal bullying, like trying to adapt that with your kids and with you, that's going to be a big change and a big start to go in the right way. And you can almost use the same steps, but they're a little bit different when it comes to cyberbullying.
Yep.
If you believe it, you can achieve it. Can't wait to see you in the gym. If you have any questions, thoughts, whatever, don't forget to give us a like, subscribe to the thing, share this to other people, give us a good review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you don't want to leave a good review, then don't review us. Sorry. Have a great day. We'll see you next week on the 4 Pillar Podcast.